What kind of person smashes a vending machine over a $2 snack and thinks they'll walk away scot-free? Karen Miller was that person, a woman whose temper could ignite a room and whose entitlement could choke it. On a muggy August evening in Springfield, Illinois, she stormed into the quick-stop gas station, her flip-flops slapping the linoleum, her face already twisted in a scowl that warned of trouble. The cashier, a lanky teenager named Ethan, barely looked up from his phone as she barreled toward the vending machine in the corner, a hulking relic stocked with chips and candy bars. Karen wanted her usual bag of Cheetos, but the machine, as old as the station itself, had other plans. She inserted her crumpled dollar bill, pressed the button, and watched as the spiral arm froze mid-turn, leaving her snack dangling just out of reach. That's when the storm broke. Karen's fist slammed against the glass, a thunderclap that made Ethan flinch. "This piece of junk stole my money," she bellowed, her voice echoing through the nearly empty store. Ethan, barely 17, mumbled something about calling the manager, but Karen wasn't having it. She shook the machine, her bulk making it wobble, and when that didn't work, she grabbed a nearby metal chair and swung it like a batter aiming for a home run. The glass shattered, snacks rained onto the floor, and Karen stood triumphant, snatching her Cheetos from the wreckage. Ethan stared, mouth agape, as she tore open the bag and began eating, crumbs falling onto her stained t-shirt. "You're paying for that," she snapped at him, as if he were the one who'd broken the law. The station's owner, Tom Hargrove, arrived minutes later, summoned by Ethan's frantic call. Tom was a man worn thin by years of running a business on razor-thin margins, his eyes heavy with the weight of too many late nights. He surveyed the damage. The vending machine's front was a spiderweb of cracks, its contents scattered like the aftermath of a looting. Karen, still munching, pointed a Cheeto-dusted finger at him. "Your machine's a scam, and I'm not paying for a damn thing," she declared. Tom's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice steady. "Ma'am, you broke my property. That's vandalism." Karen laughed, a sharp, grating sound. "Sue me, then," she taunted, tossing the empty bag on the counter and waddling out, leaving a trail of orange dust. Tom didn't let it go. He'd dealt with difficult customers before, but this was different. Karen's brazenness was a challenge to everything he'd built. The Quick Stop wasn't just a gas station. It was his livelihood, a small legacy he'd scraped together after years of working double shifts. The vending machine, old as it was, brought in steady cash, enough to cover utilities some months. Its destruction wasn't just a financial hit. It was personal. By the next morning, Tom had filed a police report and contacted a lawyer friend, who suggested small claims court. "She thinks she's untouchable," Tom said, his voice low but firm. "She's not." Karen, meanwhile, was already spinning her version of the story. She took to the neighborhood's online forum, posting a rant about the crooked gas station that robbed her. Her post, littered with exclamation points, painted her as the victim. A hard-working single mother cheated by a faulty machine and a heartless owner. Some locals nodded along, swayed by her tale of injustice, but others weren't buying it. Karen had a reputation. She'd berated waitresses, argued with cashiers, and once tried to return a half-eaten cake to a bakery, claiming it was stale. Her neighbors knew her as the woman who turned every slight into a crusade. Tom, however, wasn't interested in online wars. He gathered evidence: the security footage showing Karen's rampage, Ethan's written statement, and a repair estimate for the vending machine. $1,200, a gut punch for a small business. He filed his claim, naming Karen Miller as the defendant. The court date was set for 6 weeks later, and Tom spent those weeks preparing, his resolve hardening with each passing day. Karen, on the other hand, treated the summons like junk mail, tossing it onto her cluttered kitchen counter. She was sure Tom would back down, that her bluster would scare him off as it had so many others. She was wrong. As the court date loomed, whispers spread through Springfield. The gas station incident had become a local legend, a story told over coffee at the diner or in line at the grocery store. People took sides, some cheering for Tom, others egging Karen on, drawn to her audacity like moths to a flame. Ethan, still shaken, told his friends he'd never seen anyone so fearless or so reckless. The tension built like a storm cloud, and when the day of the hearing arrived, the small claims courtroom was packed, a rare spectacle for a case over a vending machine. In the courtroom, Karen strutted in, her chin high, wearing a bright red blouse that seemed to scream for attention. Tom sat quietly, his hands folded, his suit slightly wrinkled but his eyes sharp. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Clara Evans, called the case to order. Tom presented his evidence methodically. The footage, the estimate, Ethan's testimony. Karen, unrepresented by a lawyer, leaned on her usual tactic volume. "That machine was a rip-off," she shouted, interrupting Tom's statement. "I'm the victim here." Judge Evans raised a hand, silencing her. "You'll get your turn, Ms. Miller," she said, her tone like steel. Karen's turn came, and she unleashed a torrent of complaints. The machine was faulty, the gas station was dirty, Tom was rude. She claimed she'd been provoked into breaking the machine, that her anger was justified. The courtroom murmured, some stifling laughter, others shaking their heads. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Ethan, who'd been quiet until now, asked to speak again. Nervously, he revealed something he'd held back. Karen had come into the station the week before, demanding free snacks because the machine had eaten her money then, too. When Tom refused, she'd threatened to make him pay. The room went silent. Karen's face reddened, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Ethan's revelation hung in the air, a bombshell that shifted the room's energy. Karen's bravado faltered, her eyes darting to the exit as if she could escape the truth. She stammered, "That's a lie. He's making it up." But her voice lacked its earlier fire. Judge Evans leaned forward, her gaze piercing. "Ms. Miller, are you saying this witness is perjuring himself?" Karen's silence was answer enough. The judge turned to Tom, asking if he could corroborate Ethan's story. Tom nodded, producing a log from the station's complaint book, where Ethan had noted Karen's earlier visit and her threats. The evidence was damning, and Karen's defense crumbled like the vending machine's glass. The courtroom confrontation grew electric. Tom, emboldened, spoke directly to Karen for the first time. "You didn't just break my machine," he said, his voice steady but laced with years of frustration. "You broke the trust one have in people. I run an honest business, and you trashed it for a bag of chips." The spectators shifted in their seats, some nodding in agreement, others whispering about Tom's quiet dignity. Karen, cornered, lashed out. "You're nobody. You think you can humiliate me?" She spat, her face contorted with rage. The judge banged her gavel, warning Karen to sit down or face contempt. For a moment, it seemed she might defy the order, but she sank into her chair, muttering under her breath. The clash wasn't just about a vending machine anymore. It was a battle of principles. Tom stood for accountability, for the small business owners who grind through long hours only to face people like Karen, who believed rules didn't apply to them. Karen, in her defiance, represented something dark-era refusal to take responsibility, a belief that volume and intimidation could bend the world to her will. The spectators felt it, the weight of the moment. A woman in the back row, a regular at the quick stop, whispered to her friend, "She's finally getting what's coming." Judge Evans took only 20 minutes to deliberate. When she returned, her verdict was clear. "Ms. Miller, your actions were deliberate and destructive," she said. "You've provided no credible defense for vandalizing Mr. Hargrove's property." She ordered Karen to pay $1,200 for the machine, plus $300 in court fees, a total of $1,500. Karen's jaw dropped, her hands gripping the table as if to anchor herself against the blow. Tom exhaled, his shoulders relaxing for the first time in weeks. The courtroom buzzed, some clapping softly, others shaking their heads at Karen's stunned expression. But the real collapse came after the gavel fell. Karen stormed out of the courthouse, her red blouse a beacon of fury, ignoring the reporters who'd caught wind of the case. She posted another rant online, calling the judge biased and Tom a greedy liar. This time, the comments weren't so kind. Locals who'd once sympathized now saw her for what she was. A bully who'd pushed too far. Her neighbors stopped waving when she passed. The bakery she'd terrorized refused her service. Even her online forum, once a platform for her tirades, banned her after she insulted the moderators. Karen's world, built on bluster and bravado, was crumbling, and she had no one to blame but herself. Tom, meanwhile, used the court's award to repair the vending machine, but he didn't stop there. The case had given him a voice, a chance to stand up for others like him. He started a blog, sharing stories of small business owners facing entitled customers, and it gained traction, resonating with people across the country. The Quick Stop became a local rallying point, a place where people stopped not just for gas but to support a man who'd fought back and won. Ethan, inspired by Tom's resolve, decided to study business in college, hoping one day to run a place of his own. Karen's downfall wasn't just financial. It was social, emotional, a stripping away of the armor she'd worn for years. She'd always believed her anger could cow others into submission, but this time, it had cost her. The $1,500 was a hit. She worked as a freelance typist, and money was tight, but the real punishment was the isolation. Her neighbors' cold shoulders, the whispers at the grocery store, the way her own daughter avoided her eyes at dinner, it all stung more than the court's ruling. For the first time, Karen felt the weight of her actions, though she'd never admit it. Months later, the Quick Stop was thriving, its new vending machine gleaming under fluorescent lights. Tom had painted the walls, added a coffee station, and even started a loyalty program for regulars. The station felt alive again, a testament to his resilience. He'd taken a stand, not just for himself but for every small business owner who'd ever been pushed around. His blog posts, raw and honest, inspired others to share their stories, creating a community of people who refused to let entitlement win. Tom wasn't a hero, not in the Cape sense, but he was something better. A man who'd faced a storm and come out stronger. Karen, meanwhile, was a ghost in her own neighborhood. She'd stopped posting online, her rants replaced by silence. Her daughter, Emily, a quiet 15-year-old, started spending more time at the library, away from her mother's temper. One evening, Emily slipped into the Quick Stop, her eyes downcast. She approached Tom at the counter, holding a crumpled $20 bill. "This is for what my mom did," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Tom shook his head, gently pushing the money back. "You're not responsible for her, kid," he said. "But you're welcome here anytime." Emily's eyes welled up, and for a moment, Tom saw a flicker of hope in her, a chance she might break free from her mother's shadow. The story of the vending machine spread beyond Springfield, picked up by a local news outlet and shared on social media. It became a parable, a reminder that actions have consequences, that justice, though slow, can prevail. For every Karen who thinks they're above the rules, there's a Tom, steady and unyielding, ready to hold them accountable. The case wasn't just about $1,500. It was about dignity, about standing up when it's easier to back down. Years later, people still talked about the day Karen Miller broke a vending machine and lost more than she ever imagined. They'd laugh about her audacity, but the laughter always faded into something deep-era respect for Tom, for Ethan, for the quiet strength of ordinary people. The Quick Stop became a symbol, a place where the little guy could win. And somewhere, in the wreckage of her own making, Karen learned a truth she'd never voice. The world doesn't bend to your will, no matter how loudly you scream.